The gunshots echoed through the valley as Molly Garland clutched her trembling children to her chest, watching from the window as Sheriff Benson and his deputies dragged her husband's lifeless body through the dusty streets of Sweetwater, Texas. Thomas Garland had been a good man once, before the drink and gambling debts consumed him, before the desperation drove him to rob the stagecoach carrying the bank's monthly payroll. It was the spring of 1878, and the West was unforgiving to widows with children, especially those whose husbands died at the wrong end of the law. Molly's world had collapsed into a single, terrifying reality. She was alone with 3 small children, a failing cattle ranch, and debts that would surely crush them all. "Mama, why are they taking Papa away?" 6-year-old Emma whispered, her small fingers digging into Molly's skirts. "Hush now," Molly said, her voice steadier than she felt. She stroked her daughter's golden hair, so like her father's had been. "Go and watch your brothers. I need to speak with the sheriff." The April air carried the scent of wildflowers and gunpowder as Molly stepped onto her porch. At 26, the lines of grief were already etching themselves onto her face, once considered the prettiest in 3 counties. Her chestnut hair was hastily pinned back, her blue dress faded from too many washings. Sheriff Benson removed his hat as she approached. "Mrs. Garland, I'm sorry it came to this. Tom gave us no choice." "What happens now?" Molly asked, her voice hollow. "The bank will be coming for their due, madam. Hammersmith's already asking about the property." He shifted uncomfortably. "Tom borrowed heavy against the ranch. Word is you've got less than 2 weeks before they take everything." Less than 2 weeks to somehow raise $300, an impossible sum for a widow with 3 mouths to feed. "Thank you for your honesty, Sheriff," she said with as much dignity as she could muster. After the sheriff departed, Molly sank onto the porch steps, allowing herself one moment of despair before squaring her shoulders. She would not let her children see her break. Miles away, Tyler Xavier urged his stallion forward, his eyes fixed on the horizon where Sweetwater lay. At 32, Tyler had spent more years in the saddle than out of it. His dark hair curled beneath his hat, and the beginnings of a beard shadowed his sun-weathered face. He'd been riding for 3 days straight, chasing rumors and following a trail that had gone cold too many times. Tyler was no stranger to Sweetwater. 8 years ago, he'd passed through, staying just long enough to help an ailing rancher with his spring branding before moving on. That rancher had been Thomas Garland, a man with a beautiful young wife and a newborn daughter. Tyler had kept his distance, aware that his feelings for Molly Garland were inappropriate for a hired hand. Instead, he'd left quietly, carrying memories of her smile and kind words with him through the years. News traveled, even to a man who rarely stayed in one place. When Tyler heard that Thomas Garland had been killed attempting to rob a stagecoach, he knew he had to return. Not because he harbored any illusions about Molly, 8 years was a lifetime, but because he owed Thomas a debt. Thomas had once shown him kindness when few others would, and Tyler believed in repaying what he owed. The next morning, Molly stood in Sweetwater's general store, her children waiting patiently by her side as Mr. Wilkins calculated her bill. "That'll be $4.16, Mrs. Garland," he said, avoiding her eyes. Molly counted out the coins, her stomach tightening at how quickly their meager savings were disappearing. "And about our account, I'm sorry, Mrs. Garland," Mr. Wilkins interrupted, his voice low. "The owner says we can't extend any more credit. With your situation and all." Heat rose to Molly's cheeks. "I understand," she managed, though her pride stung bitterly. "Mama, can I have a peppermint stick?" 8-year-old Jack asked, his eyes wide with hope. "Not today, sweetheart," Molly whispered, her heart breaking at the disappointment that clouded his face. As she gathered her purchases, the store's bell jangled. Molly turned to see a tall man enter, dust from the trail covering his clothes. For a moment, something familiar about him caught her attention, but she dismissed the thought. She had too many worries to dwell on strangers. Tyler saw her immediately. Despite the years, he would have known Molly anywhere. The same graceful posture, the determined set of her chin. But there were changes to a weariness in her eyes that hadn't been there before, and 3 children hovering close to her skirts. He removed his hat, suddenly unsure of his decision to come. "Madam," he nodded politely as they passed. Molly acknowledged him with a brief nod, too preoccupied with her own thoughts to notice the way his eyes followed her. Later that day, Tyler made his way to Sweetwater's only bank. The building stood imposingly on the main street, its brick facade a stark contrast to the wooden structures surrounding it. Inside, Harold Hammersmith sat behind a large oak desk, his pinstriped suit and gold watch chain advertising his prosperity. "How can I help you, Mr.?" Hammersmith inquired, assessing Tyler's worn clothing with barely concealed disdain. "Xavier. Tyler Xavier," he replied, taking a seat without waiting for an invitation. "I'm here about the Garland property." Hammersmith's eyebrows rose. "Are you looking to purchase?" "It will be available at auction in 11 days unless the outstanding debts are settled." "How much?" Tyler asked directly. "The total amounts to $342, Hammersmith said, clearly expecting the conversation to end there. A sizable sum, especially for a recently widowed woman with no income to speak of. Tyler nodded thoughtfully. "I'd like to settle that debt." Hammersmith's pen clattered to the desk. "You would? I beg your pardon, you heard me," Tyler said calmly. "I want to pay off the Garland debt in full." "And what claim do you have on the property?" Hammersmith asked suspiciously. "None. I'm simply settling a debt of my own." Hammersmith's eyes narrowed. "Very well, though I must say it's an unusual request. The widow doesn't know." "And she won't," Tyler said firmly. "The deed stays in her name, the debt is cleared, and my involvement remains between us." After the transaction was complete, Tyler stepped back into the afternoon sunlight. He had no intention of announcing himself to Molly. He would ensure she and her children were safe, and then he would move on, as he always did. The money he'd paid represented years of careful saving, the result of breaking horses across the territories and occasionally guiding cattle drives. But Tyler had few needs and fewer attachments. The money meant little to him compared to the peace of mind it brought. That evening, Molly sat at her kitchen table, tallying numbers that refused to add up to anything but disaster. The children were asleep, giving her a rare moment of solitude to face the truth. They would lose everything. Even if she sold every head of cattle and every stick of furniture, it wouldn't be enough. A knock at the door startled her. Visitors at this hour were rare, especially 3 days after her husband's burial. Cautiously, she approached the door, taking down Thomas's old shotgun from its place above the mantel. "Who's there?" she called. "Mrs. Garland. It's Sheriff Benson. Need a word." Molly opened the door to find the sheriff looking uncomfortable, hat in hand. "I apologize for the hour, madam, but I thought you'd want to know right away. There's been a development regarding your husband's, regarding your financial situation." "What development?" Molly asked, her grip tightening on the shotgun. "Hammersmith sent word. Apparently your debts have been settled in full." He scratched his head in confusion. "All of them. The bank has no further claim on your property." Molly stared at him in disbelief. "That's impossible. Who would?" "That's just it," Benson interrupted. "Hammersmith says he's not at liberty to say. Some anonymous benefactor." After the sheriff left, Molly sat on the porch steps, trying to make sense of this unexpected turn. Who would pay such a sum for her family? She had no wealthy relatives, no close friends with that kind of money. It made no sense, and Molly had learned early that in this world, nothing came without a price. The next morning, she hitched her wagon and took the children into town, determined to speak with Hammersmith herself. The banker received her with the same cold courtesy he always displayed. "Mrs. Garland, I've already sent word through the sheriff. Your debts have been paid. The deed remains in your name. Our business is concluded." "I need to know who did this," Molly insisted. "No one gives away that kind of money without expecting something in return." Hammersmith's thin lips pressed together. "I gave my word not to reveal the benefactor's identity. However, I can assure you that no conditions were attached to the payment. The debt is cleared, nothing more." Frustrated, Molly left the bank. As she helped her children into the wagon, she noticed a man across the street, leaning against the post outside the saloon. Something about him seemed familiar. Tyler cursed his carelessness. He should have left town immediately after settling the debt, but something had kept him in Sweetwater. Now Molly had seen him, and there was recognition in her eyes. He straightened up, nodding politely before turning to enter the saloon. "Wait," Molly called, securing the wagon's brake and crossing the street, determination in every step. "Excuse me, sir." Tyler turned, his expression carefully neutral. "Madam, do I know you?" Molly asked, studying his face. "I passed through these parts some years back," Tyler admitted. "Worked for your husband during spring branding season. Name's Tyler Xavier." Recognition dawned in her eyes. "The Texan who could gentle any horse. Thomas spoke of you often." Tyler shifted uncomfortably. "Sorry about your loss, madam." "Thank you," Molly said, then hesitated. "Mr. Xavier, you wouldn't happen to know anything about my family's debts being mysteriously settled, would you?" Tyler's face revealed nothing. "Can't say that I do. Sounds like you've had some good fortune." Molly wasn't convinced. "It's strange that you returned to Sweetwater right when this happens." "Just passing through, Mrs. Garland. Heard about Thomas and wanted to pay my respects." Before Molly could press further, little Emma called from the wagon. "Mama, Jack's pulling my hair," Molly sighed. "We'll continue this conversation another time, Mr. Xavier." As she walked away, Tyler knew he should leave town immediately. His mission was accomplished. There was no reason to stay. Yet something held him back, perhaps the sight of Molly struggling alone with 3 children, or maybe an older, deeper feeling he'd never fully abandoned. The following day, Tyler rode out to the Garland ranch, telling himself he was merely checking on the condition of the place before moving on. The property looked run down. Fences needed mending, and the barn roof had seen better days. As he surveyed the land from a distance, he noticed Molly struggling with a stubborn pump handle. Without thinking, he urged his horse forward. "Need a hand with that," he called as he dismounted. Molly straightened, wiping her brow with her sleeve. "Mr. Xavier, following me now?" "Just riding by," he said easily. "That pump's always been troublesome. Mind if I take a look?" Molly hesitated, then stepped aside. "Be my guest." Tyler removed his coat and rolled up his sleeves, revealing strong forearms tanned by the sun. He worked the handle a few times, frowning at the resistance. "Leather's dried out," he explained. "Got some oil in your barn." They worked together for the next hour, Tyler repairing the pump while Molly held tools and followed his instructions. It was the closest she'd been to a man since Thomas died, and she found herself noticing things she shouldn't: the breadth of his shoulders, the quiet competence in his hands, the low timbre of his voice. "There," Tyler said finally, pumping a steady stream of clear water. "Should work fine now." "Thank you," Molly said, suddenly awkward. "Would you like some coffee? It's the least I can offer." Inside the small ranch house, Tyler sat at the kitchen table while Molly prepared coffee. The home was modest but clean, with small touches that spoke of care despite limited means: a vase of wildflowers, carefully mended curtains, children's drawings pinned to the wall. "Your children at school?" he asked. "Yes," Molly replied, placing a steaming cup before him. "Emma and Jack are. Little Thomas is with our neighbor, Mrs. Peterson." "Named after his father," Tyler observed. "Yes." Molly sat across from him. "Mr. Xavier, Tyler, please." "Tyler, then. I want to thank you for your help today, but I still have questions about why you're really here." Tyler met her gaze steadily. "Like I said, just passing through." "And yet you know exactly how to fix our temperamental water pump," she challenged. A small smile touched his lips. "Good memory, I guess." Molly's expression remained serious. "Was it you who paid the debts?" Tyler took a long sip of his coffee. "Mrs. Garland, Molly," she corrected. "Molly," he amended. "Does it matter who it was? The debt's paid. Your children have a home." "Of course it matters," she insisted. "I need to know why and what's expected in return." "Not everything comes with strings attached," Tyler said quietly. Before Molly could respond, they heard horses approaching. Moving to the window, she frowned. "It's Jeb Thornton. He's been trying to buy our land for years." Tyler joined her at the window, watching as a portly man dismounted, followed by two rough-looking companions. "Want me to make myself scarce?" Tyler offered. "No," Molly said firmly. "Stay." She opened the door before Thornton could knock. "Mr. Thornton, this is an unexpected visit." Thornton removed his hat, his eyes darting past her to Tyler. "Mrs. Garland, I heard about your recent change in circumstances." "News travels fast," Molly replied coolly. "Indeed. I've come to renew my offer for your land. $500, cash in hand, more than generous considering." His gaze lingered on her threadbare dress. Tyler moved to stand beside Molly, his presence a silent statement. "The ranch isn't for sale," Molly stated. Thornton's expression hardened. "Be reasonable, Mrs. Garland. You're a woman alone. This land requires a man's touch." "She said it's not for sale," Tyler interjected, his voice level but carrying a subtle warning. Thornton assessed Tyler with undisguised contempt. "And who might you be?" "A friend of the family," Tyler replied simply. "Well, friend," Thornton sneered, "this is between Mrs. Garland and myself." "My decision stands," Molly said firmly. "Good day, Mr. Thornton." As Thornton and his men rode away, Molly released a shaky breath. "He won't give up easily. His land borders mine to the north, and he's wanted our water rights for years." "You handled him well," Tyler observed. Molly turned to face him. "I need to know something, and I want an honest answer. Was it you who paid my debts?" Tyler held her gaze for a long moment. "Yes." The simple admission hung in the air between them. "Why?" Molly whispered. "Your husband once helped me when few others would," Tyler explained. "I owed him a debt." $300 is an extraordinary debt," Tyler shrugged. "Maybe so." "And now, what do you want in return?" Molly asked, her chin lifting slightly. "Nothing," Tyler said firmly. "It was a debt paid, nothing more." Molly studied him, searching for deception and finding none. "I don't believe you. No one does something like that without expecting something in return." "Believe what you will," Tyler said, reaching for his hat. "I should be on my way." "Wait," Molly said, touching his arm briefly. I could use help with some repairs around the ranch. I can't pay much, but I can offer meals and a place to sleep in the barn." Tyler hesitated. Staying was a risk. The feelings he'd buried years ago were already stirring dangerously back to life. But the thought of riding away, leaving Molly to face Thornton and the challenges of the ranch alone, didn't sit right with him. "I can stay a few days," he conceded. That night, as Tyler settled into the barn loft, he questioned his decision. He had paid his debt. There was no reason to linger. Yet as he closed his eyes, he couldn't forget the determination in Molly's face or the silent strength with which she carried her burdens. The next morning, Tyler was up before dawn, assessing what needed to be done around the ranch. By the time Molly emerged from the house, he had already repaired a section of broken fence and was examining the barn roof. "You're up early," she observed, carrying a basket covered with a cloth. "Old habit," Tyler replied, climbing down from the ladder. "Sun's up, so am I." "I brought breakfast," Molly said, unveiling fresh biscuits, bacon, and a jar of preserved peaches. "It's not much, but it's more than enough," Tyler assured her. "Thank you." They ate in companionable silence, watching as the sun rose fully over the eastern hills. The morning light caught in Molly's hair, bringing out auburn highlights Tyler hadn't noticed before. "The children will be up soon," Molly said, gathering the empty plates. "They have questions about you." "What did you tell them?" "That you're an old friend helping out for a while." She hesitated. "Tyler, about yesterday. I was ungrateful. You did something extraordinary for my family and I responded with suspicion." "It was a natural reaction," Tyler assured her. "Still, I want to thank you properly, not just for the money but for not expecting anything in return." She met his eyes directly. "It's a rare thing in this world." Before Tyler could respond, the ranch house door burst open and Emma and Jack tumbled out, followed by a toddling Thomas. "Mama, is that the cowboy?" Emma called excitedly. Molly laughed. "Yes, this is Mr. Xavier." "Remember your manners now." The children gathered around Tyler, curiosity overcoming their initial shyness. 8-year-old Jack puffed out his chest. "I help Mama with the ranch now that Pa's gone." "I can see that," Tyler replied seriously. "You've done a fine job." "Can you teach me to ride a proper horse?" Jack asked eagerly. "Not just old Bessie." "Jack," Molly admonished. "Mr. Xavier isn't here to—" "I'd be happy to," Tyler interrupted, "if it's all right with your ma." Molly hesitated, then nodded. "That would be kind of you." Over the next week, Tyler became a fixture at the Garland ranch. He repaired fences, patched the barn roof, and helped Molly with the small herd of cattle that remained after Thomas's death. In the evenings, he often joined the family for dinner, regaling the children with stories of his travels across the territories. On Saturday, Molly found Tyler in the corral, working with a spirited young mare. She paused to watch him, impressed by his gentle but firm approach. The horse, initially nervous, gradually relaxed under his quiet guidance. "You have a way with them," Molly observed. Tyler looked up, a rare smile lighting his face. "They're honest creatures, no pretense." "Unlike people," Molly added. "Some people," Tyler corrected. "Not all." Molly leaned against the corral fence. "The children are fond of you. They're good kids." "Yes, they are," Molly hesitated. "Tyler, I need to ask you something. How long do you intend to stay?" The question caught him off guard. "I haven't given it much thought. It's just that the children are getting attached. Jack follows you like a shadow, and even Emma, who's been so withdrawn since her father's death, smiles when you're around." Tyler released the mare's lead rope, watching as she trotted to the other side of the corral. "Are you asking me to leave?" "No," Molly said quickly. "I'm asking what your intentions are. The children have already lost one man they cared about. I won't have them hurt again." Tyler met her eyes directly. "I won't hurt them, Molly." "You will if you disappear without warning," she countered. "And I—" She stopped, looking away. "And you?" Tyler prompted softly. "Nothing," Molly said, straightening. "Dinner will be ready soon." As she walked back to the house, Tyler watched her go, aware that something had shifted between them. It wasn't just the children who were becoming attached. Later that evening, after the children were asleep, Molly sat on the porch enjoying the cool night air. She heard Tyler's footsteps before she saw him. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. Molly gestured to the empty chair beside her. "Please." They sat in silence for a while, listening to the night sounds: crickets, the distant howl of a coyote, the soft rustling of the cottonwood trees. "About today," Tyler finally said. "I should have been clearer. I don't know how long I'll stay, Molly. I've never been good at putting down roots." Molly nodded, unsurprised. "I appreciate your honesty." "But," he continued, "I won't leave without saying goodbye. I give you my word on that." "Thank you," Molly said softly. "The children deserve that much." "And you?" Tyler asked, echoing her earlier question. "What do you deserve?" Molly looked at him then, really looked at him. In the moonlight, his features were cast in shadow, but his eyes held a warmth that made her heart beat faster. "I deserved a husband who didn't gamble away our future," she said honestly. "I deserved a partner who stood by his promises." "Thomas had his demons," Tyler acknowledged. "Yes, he did," Molly sighed. "I loved him once very much, but the man I buried wasn't the man I married. That man was lost to whiskey and cards long ago." "I'm sorry," Tyler said, and he meant it. "So am I." Molly's voice was barely above a whisper. "But I'm also angry. Angry that he left us this way, that he chose a desperate act over facing his failures." Tyler reached out tentatively, covering her hand with his own. Molly didn't pull away. "You have every right to be angry," he told her. "Do I have the right to feel something else, too?" Molly asked, her voice trembling slightly. "It's been only 2 weeks since I buried him." Tyler understood what she was asking. "There's no timeline for grief, Molly, or for anything else." They sat there, hands touching, neither willing to cross the invisible line between friendship and something more. But something had been acknowledged, a possibility that hadn't existed before. Sunday morning brought a new challenge. As the family prepared for church, a rider approached the ranch at a gallop. "Mrs. Peterson." Molly recognized her elderly neighbor, alarmed by her haste. "What's wrong?" "Thornton's men," Mrs. Peterson gasped. "They're at the north pasture, driving your cattle onto his land." Tyler was already saddling his horse. "How many men?" "3 that I saw," Mrs. Peterson replied. "My Alvin's gone to alert the sheriff, but the sheriff won't get here in time," Tyler finished grimly. "Molly, stay here with the children." "It's my land, my cattle," Molly protested. "And my fight too," Tyler said firmly. "Please stay here." Reluctantly, Molly nodded. "Be careful." Tyler rode hard to the north pasture, fury building as he saw Thornton's men harassing Molly's small herd, driving them toward a break in the fence that separated the two properties. Once on Thornton's land, he could claim the cattle had wandered over, and it would be his word against Molly's. "That's far enough," Tyler called out, drawing his revolver but keeping it pointed downward. The 3 men turned, surprise quickly giving way to hostility. Tyler recognized them from their visit with Thornton. "This ain't your business, stranger," the largest of the 3 growled. "You're stealing Mrs. Garland's cattle," Tyler replied calmly. "That makes it my business." The man spat on the ground. "Ain't stealing if they wander onto our property." "Boss says that fence has been down for weeks." "Funny," Tyler said, "since I repaired it myself 3 days ago." The men exchanged glances, silently communicating. Tyler knew what was coming: 3 against 1, and he couldn't shoot them all before at least one got to him. "Last chance to ride away," Tyler warned. "Or what?" the leader sneered. "You gonna shoot all 3 of us?" "He might not," came Molly's voice from behind them, "but I'll certainly shoot one of you." Tyler turned to see Molly approaching on horseback, Thomas's shotgun leveled at the men. Her face was set with determination, eyes flashing with anger. "Mrs. Garland," the leader said, his tone shifting. "There's been a misunderstanding. We thought these cattle had broken through." "Save it," Molly interrupted. "I want you off my land. Now." The men hesitated, calculating their odds against an armed woman and man. "Mr. Thornton won't be pleased," one of them warned. "Mr. Thornton can take up his grievances with the sheriff," Molly replied. "Now go." After the men had retreated, Molly lowered the shotgun, her hands trembling slightly. "I thought I told you to stay at the house," Tyler said, dismounting to help her down. "And I thought I made it clear this is my fight too," Molly countered, accepting his assistance. Once on the ground, she found herself standing very close to him, his hand still at her waist. "You're the most stubborn woman I've ever met," Tyler said, but there was admiration in his voice. "So I've been told," Molly replied, a small smile playing at her lips. For a moment they stood there, the tension between them palpable. Then Tyler stepped back, breaking the spell. "We should fix that fence properly," he said. "Thornton will try again." They worked together throughout the day, reinforcing the fence that separated the properties. By sundown, they were both exhausted but satisfied with their work. "He won't give up," Molly said as they rode back to the house. "Thornton, I mean, he wants this land badly." "Why?" Tyler asked. "Your spread's not much bigger than his." "It's the water," Molly explained. "Our property has 3 natural springs that feed into a creek. In these parts, water rights are more valuable than gold." Tyler nodded thoughtfully. "We'll need to be vigilant." Molly questioned. "While I'm here," Tyler clarified, though the thought of leaving felt increasingly wrong. That night, as the household slept, Tyler stood watch on the porch. He didn't trust Thornton not to try something more direct. The night was peaceful, however, broken only by the occasional owl's call and the distant yipping of coyotes. Shortly before dawn, Molly joined him, wrapped in a shawl against the morning chill. "You should have woken me to take a turn." "I'm used to long nights," Tyler assured her. "Did the children sleep well, like angels?" Molly said, smiling. "Though Jack is determined to join you on guard duty tonight," Tyler chuckled. "That boy's got spirit." "Like his father," Molly said softly. After a pause, she added, "Tyler, there's something I need to know." "What's that? Why did you really come back? And please don't say it was just to pay a debt." Tyler was silent for a long moment, watching as the first rays of dawn touched the eastern horizon. "The truth, I've thought about you, over the years." Molly's breath caught. "You barely knew me." "I knew enough," Tyler said simply. "I knew you were kind to a stranger when others weren't. I knew you loved your husband and daughter fiercely. I knew your laugh could light up a room." "That was a lifetime ago," Molly whispered. "Maybe so," Tyler agreed. "But when I heard about Thomas, I had to come back." "Not with any expectations," he added quickly. "Just to make sure you were all right." Molly studied his face in the growing light. "And now, Tyler said, his voice low, "now I find myself not wanting to leave." The confession hung between them, charged with possibility and complication. "It's too soon," Molly said finally. "For me, for the children, it's too soon to know what I feel." "I understand," Tyler assured her. "I'm not asking for anything, Molly." "Aren't you?" she challenged gently. Before he could respond, they heard the children stirring inside. The moment passed, but something had changed, a truth acknowledged that couldn't be forgotten. The days that followed fell into a rhythm. Tyler continued helping around the ranch while Molly tended to the house and children. They worked well together, each anticipating the other's needs, moving in a silent harmony that didn't go unnoticed by Mrs. Peterson or the children. "Mr. Tyler, are you sweet on Mama?" Emma asked one evening as Tyler helped her with her reading lessons. Tyler nearly dropped the book. "What makes you ask that, Miss Emma?" "You look at her the way Pa used to before he got mean," Emma said with a child's directness. "Emma," Molly exclaimed from the doorway, "that's enough questions for tonight. Bedtime now." Later, as they washed dishes together, Molly apologized. "I'm sorry about Emma. She doesn't understand. She understands more than you think," Tyler said gently. Children often do. Molly set down the plate she was drying. Tyler, a frantic knocking at the door interrupted her. Tyler immediately reached for his gun, moving to the window to check who was outside. It's Mrs. Peterson again, he said, holstering his weapon. Molly opened the door to find her neighbor distraught. Alvin's hurt bad, Mrs. Peterson gasped. Horse threw him on the north trail. He can't move his legs. I'll ride for the doctor, Tyler said immediately. No, Mrs. Peterson cried. Doc Simmons is out at the Henderson place. Their boy's got the fever. We need help getting Alvin home. I'll go with Tyler, Molly decided. Mrs. Peterson, can you stay with the children? Within minutes, Molly and Tyler were riding toward the North Trail, lanterns swinging from their saddles to light the way. They found Alvin Peterson where his wife had left him, pale and in obvious pain. Thank the Lord, Alvin gasped when he saw them. Thought a rattler might find me before help came. Tyler dismounted, carefully examining the old man. Looks like you took quite a fall, Mr. Peterson. Damned horse spooked at something, Alvin grunted. Can't feel much below my waist. Tyler and Molly exchanged worried glances. A back injury could be serious, possibly fatal for a man of Alvin's age. We need to move him carefully, Tyler said. I'll make a travois. Using branches and his coat, Tyler constructed a simple stretcher that could be pulled behind his horse. Together, they gently lifted Alvin onto it, wincing at his cries of pain. Hold on, Mr. Peterson, Molly encouraged. We'll have you home soon. The journey back was slow and difficult, with Tyler leading his horse at a careful walk while Molly rode ahead to prepare the Peterson home. By the time they arrived, Mrs. Peterson had cleared the kitchen table and laid out clean sheets. Lay him here, she directed, her hands trembling but her voice steady. After settling Alvin as comfortably as possible, Tyler pulled Molly aside. He needs a doctor. I'll ride to the Henderson place and bring Doc Simmons. It's 15 miles, Molly protested. In the dark. I've ridden farther in worse conditions, Tyler assured her. Their eyes met and Molly nodded. Be careful. As Tyler mounted up for the long ride, Molly impulsively stepped forward. Tyler. He looked down at her, waiting. Come back safe, she said softly. Tyler reached down to briefly touch her cheek. I will. The night stretched endlessly for Molly as she helped Mrs. Peterson tend to Alvin. The old man drifted in and out of consciousness, his pain evident even in sleep. Outside, a storm began to gather, dark clouds obscuring the moon and stars. He's been gone too long, Mrs. Peterson fretted as midnight passed with no sign of Tyler or the doctor. He'll be back, Molly said with more confidence than she felt. Tyler keeps his promises. As if summoned by her faith, they heard hoofbeats approaching. Molly rushed to the door to see Tyler dismounting, helping an elderly man down from his own horse. Doc Simmons, she breathed in relief. Mrs. Garland, the doctor nodded. Mr. Xavier here says we have an emergency. After examining Alvin, Doc Simmons delivered his verdict. The spine's injured but not broken, I think. With rest and care, he might regain some function. But he won't be working the ranch again, that's for certain. Mrs. Peterson wept silently, clutching her husband's hand. What will they do? Molly asked Tyler quietly as they stepped outside. The ranch is their livelihood. I don't know, Tyler admitted. They've no children to take over. The ride back to the Garland ranch was subdued, both lost in their own thoughts. The rain had started, a gentle but persistent drizzle that matched their mood. You're thinking of staying to help them, aren't you? Molly asked suddenly. Tyler looked surprised. How did you know? Because that's who you are, Molly said simply. You see a need and you fill it, asking nothing in return. They rode in silence for another mile before Tyler spoke again. I've been thinking about what Emma asked, about whether I'm sweet on you. Molly's heart skipped. "Tyler, you don't have to." "I am," he said quietly. "Sweet on you, I mean. Have been since I first stayed here 8 years ago." The confession hung between them, rain-dampened but undeniable. "I'm a widow with 3 children and a struggling ranch," Molly said, her voice unsteady. "I'm not what most men would want." "I'm not most men," Tyler replied simply. "And you're exactly what I want." When they reached the Garland home, the rain had intensified, soaking them to the skin. Mrs. Peterson met them at the door, taking their wet coats and ushering them toward the fire. "The children are still asleep," she assured Molly. "How's Alvin?" While Molly updated her neighbor, Tyler stoked the fire, trying to give them privacy. His clothes clung uncomfortably, and exhaustion from the long night's ride was setting in. "Tyler," Molly called, "there's dry clothes of Thomas's in the chest in my room. They should fit you well enough." The simple domestic gesture, offering her dead husband's clothes, carried a weight that wasn't lost on either of them. It was an acknowledgement, perhaps, that the past was giving way to the present. Later, as Mrs. Peterson prepared to leave, she pulled Molly aside. "That man cares for you," she said bluntly. "I've seen the way he looks at you when he thinks no one's watching." "It's complicated," Molly replied. "Life is complicated," Mrs. Peterson said wisely. "But love is simple. It either is or it isn't." After Mrs. Peterson departed, Molly found Tyler asleep in the chair by the fire, exhaustion having finally claimed him. She stood watching him for a moment, this man who had changed her life so completely in such a short time. Carefully, she draped a blanket over him, her fingers lingering briefly on his shoulder. Tyler stirred, his hand catching hers before she could withdraw. "Sorry," he murmured, still half asleep. "Instinct." "It's all right," Molly whispered. "Go back to sleep." Instead, Tyler sat up, fully awake now. "Molly, about what I said earlier, did you mean it?" she asked directly. "Every word," Tyler confirmed. Molly took a deep breath. "I think I might be sweet on you too," she admitted. "But I'm afraid, Tyler. Afraid of making another mistake, afraid of what people will say, afraid of." Tyler stood, closing the distance between them. "I understand fear, Molly. I've spent my life running from it, from attachments, from putting down roots, from the chance of loss." "And now?" Molly asked, looking up at him. "Now I'm more afraid of leaving than staying," Tyler confessed. "More afraid of not knowing what might have been between us." Slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, Tyler bent his head toward hers. Molly closed her eyes as their lips met in a kiss that was gentle but filled with promise. His arms encircled her waist, drawing her closer, and Molly's hands came to rest on his chest, feeling the strong, steady beat of his heart. When they parted, Molly's cheeks were flushed, her eyes bright. "I've been alone for so long," she whispered. "Even before Thomas died." "You're not alone anymore," Tyler promised. "Not unless you want to be." The days that followed were filled with both joy and challenges. Tyler divided his time between helping at the Garland ranch and assisting the Petersons. Molly found herself watching for his return each evening, her heart lifting at the sight of him riding over the hill. The children, especially Jack, had fully embraced Tyler's presence. He taught Jack to ride properly, showed Emma how to whittle simple shapes from wood, and bounced little Thomas on his knee, delighting in the toddler's giggles. "Will you stay forever, Mr. Tyler?" Emma asked one evening as they sat on the porch, watching the sunset. Tyler glanced at Molly, uncertain how to answer. "Would you like that, Miss Emma?" The little girl nodded solemnly. "You make Mama smile again." "Emma," Molly began, embarrassed. "Well, making your mama smile is one of my favorite things to do," Tyler said gently. "But these things take time, sweetheart." Word of their developing relationship spread quickly through Sweetwater. Some, like Mrs. Peterson, were supportive. Others whispered about the impropriety of a widow entertaining a man so soon after her husband's death. "People will talk," Molly said worriedly after they received cool greetings at Sunday services. "It reflects on the children, too." "People always talk," Tyler replied. "What matters is what's true." Their courtship progressed slowly, respectful of Molly's recent widowhood and the children's adjustment. Tyler continued to sleep in the barn, though they shared increasingly intimate moments when the children were asleep or occupied. One evening, as they sat by the fire after the children had gone to bed, Tyler broached a subject that had been on his mind. "Molly, I've been thinking about the Peterson situation." "It's dire," Molly agreed. "They can't work the land themselves anymore, and they can't afford to hire help." "What if," Tyler suggested carefully, "we offered to buy their land? It borders yours to the east. Combined, it would make a substantial ranch." Molly stared at him. "Tyler, I barely have enough money to keep this place running." "I do," Tyler said simply. "The money I paid to clear your debts wasn't all I had." "I couldn't ask you to." "You're not asking," Tyler interrupted. "I'm offering, as an investment in our future." The words hung between them, weighted with meaning. "Our future," Molly repeated softly. Tyler moved from his chair to kneel before her. "Molly Garland, I know it hasn't been long and I know there's still healing to be done, but I love you. I think I've loved you since I first rode onto this ranch 8 years ago." Tears welled in Molly's eyes. "Tyler." "I'm not asking for an answer now," he hastened to add. "Just for you to consider that there could be a future for us. All of us." Molly reached out to touch his face, her fingers tracing the lines at the corners of his eyes. "I think I've known since you came back that this was more than gratitude or friendship I was feeling." "And what are you feeling?" Tyler asked, his voice rough with emotion. "Love," Molly whispered. "I love you, Tyler Xavier." Their kiss was different this time, deeper, more certain, a promise rather than a question. The following day, they approached the Petersons with their offer. The elderly couple was initially resistant, proud despite their circumstances. "This land's been in my family for 30 years, Alvin protested from his bed. "Can't just sell it off." "We're not asking you to leave," Molly explained. "You'd still live in your home, still be part of the land. We'd just be working it together." Mrs. Peterson looked thoughtful. "Like a partnership." "Exactly," Tyler agreed. "You have the experience and knowledge of this land that we need. We have the ability to work it that you currently lack." After much discussion, a compromise was reached. The Petersons would sell a portion of their land, but retain their homestead and a small surrounding area. They would receive a percentage of the profits from the combined operation, ensuring their security in their later years. As they rode back to the Garland ranch, Molly felt a lightness she hadn't experienced in years. "It's really happening, isn't it? We're building something together." Tyler smiled. "We are, though there's one more thing we need to discuss." "What's that?" Molly asked. "Thornton," Tyler said grimly. "He won't take kindly to us expanding instead of selling out." Molly's expression sobered. "No, he won't." They didn't have to wait long for Thornton's reaction. The following morning he arrived at the ranch, his face thunderous. "Mrs. Garland," he said, barely acknowledging Tyler. "I've heard disturbing rumors about you buying the Peterson place." "Not rumors, Mr. Thornton," Molly replied calmly. "Facts. We've reached an agreement with the Petersons." Thornton's face reddened. "This is unacceptable." "I've made my interest in both properties clear. I'm prepared to offer you $800 for your land, a very generous sum." "Not interested," Molly stated firmly. "Be reasonable," Thornton insisted. "A woman has no business running a ranch this size." "She's not alone," Tyler interjected, moving to stand beside Molly. Thornton's eyes narrowed. "And what exactly is your role here, Mr. Xavier? Hired hand? Or something more personal? My relationship with Mrs. Garland is none of your concern, Tyler said evenly. What should concern you is that we're not selling. Not now, not ever. Thornton's expression turned ugly. We'll see about that. Things happen, you know. Accidents, fires. Cattle get stolen. It's a dangerous territory for those without proper protection. Is that a threat, Mr. Thornton? Molly asked quietly. Just stating facts, Mrs. Garland. Thornton replaced his hat. Think about my offer. It won't remain open indefinitely. After he left, Tyler and Molly exchanged worried glances. He means it, Molly said. He'll try something. Then we'll be ready, Tyler promised. I won't let him harm you or the children. That night, Tyler moved his bedroll from the barn to the porch, unwilling to be too far from the house. His vigilance proved warranted when, shortly after midnight, he heard horses approaching. Moving silently, Tyler woke Molly. Riders coming. Get the children to the root cellar. Molly didn't waste time with questions, quickly gathering her sleepy children and ushering them to safety. Tyler positioned himself by the front window, rifle ready. 3 men dismounted at the edge of the property, carrying torches. Their intentions were clear. They meant to burn the ranch house with its occupants inside. Tyler stepped onto the porch, rifle raised. That's far enough. The men hesitated, surprised to find someone waiting for them. Mr. Thornton sends his regards, one called mockingly. Says to tell you this is just the beginning. Tell Thornton that if he wants this land, he'll have to come take it himself, Tyler replied. And tell him I'll be waiting. One of the men lit a bundle of oil-soaked rags tied to an arrow. We'll see how brave you are when this place is burning down around you. Before he could knock the arrow, a shot rang out, hitting the ground at his feet. The man dropped the flaming bundle in surprise. Next one won't miss, came Sheriff Benson's voice as he rode into view, accompanied by several deputies. Drop your weapons, boys. The would-be arsonists, realizing they were outnumbered, surrendered without further resistance. Mrs. Peterson sent word, Benson explained to Tyler as his deputies took the men into custody. Said Thornton's men had been boasting at the saloon about teaching you folks a lesson tonight. Thank you, Sheriff, Tyler said sincerely. You saved our lives. Benson nodded grimly. Thornton's gone too far this time. Attempted arson and murder won't sit well with Judge Parker when he comes through next month. After the sheriff departed with his prisoners, Molly emerged from the root cellar with the children. Is it over? For tonight, Tyler said, taking little Thomas from her arms, but Thornton won't give up easily. What do we do? Molly asked, her voice steady despite her fear. Tyler looked at her, admiration in his eyes. We fight, together. The following weeks were tense. Thornton was arrested for conspiracy, but his money and influence meant he was unlikely to remain in custody for long. Tyler and Molly used the time to prepare, hiring 2 trusted men recommended by Sheriff Benson to help patrol the expanded property. Despite the threat hanging over them, life continued. The children thrived under Tyler's gentle guidance, and the ranch began to prosper with the combined lands and increased cattle herd. Tyler and Molly's relationship deepened, their love growing stronger with each shared challenge. One evening, as they sat on the porch after the children were asleep, Tyler took Molly's hand. I've been thinking, he began. A dangerous pastime, Molly teased. Tyler smiled. Perhaps. Molly, I know it's only been a few months, but I can't imagine my life without you and the children. I want to make this official. Molly's breath caught. Tyler, are you asking you to marry me? Yes, I am. He produced a small silver ring, simple but beautiful. It was my mother's. I've carried it with me all these years, waiting for the right woman. Tears filled Molly's eyes. And you think I'm her? I know you are, Tyler said with certainty. You're strong, compassionate, and braver than anyone I've ever known. I love you, Molly Garland. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Molly whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Yes, I'll marry you, Tyler Xavier." As he slipped the ring onto her finger, Molly added, "But what about Thornton? What if he comes back?" "Then we'll face him together," Tyler said firmly. "This is our home now, our future, and nothing is going to take that away from us." True to Tyler's prediction, Thornton was released on bail a week later. Rather than wait for him to make another move, Tyler decided to confront the situation directly. "I'm going to town to speak with Thornton," he told Molly one morning. "This has to end." "I'm coming with you," Molly insisted. "This is my fight too." They left the children with Mrs. Peterson and rode into Sweetwater together. Thornton was known to frequent the Silverado Saloon, where he held court among the town's wealthy businessmen. The saloon fell silent as Tyler and Molly entered, an unusual sight in the male-dominated establishment. Thornton sat at a corner table, playing cards with several companions. "Well, well," he drawled upon seeing them. "The widow and her protector, come to reconsider my offer." "No," Tyler said firmly. "We've come to make you one." Thornton raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." "You want water rights," Molly stated. "We're prepared to sell you access to the creek that runs along the northern boundary for a fair price and legal documentation." Thornton studied them, surprise evident in his expression. "Why the change of heart?" "Because this feud benefits no one," Tyler explained. "You need water for your cattle. We need peace for our family. This compromise gives us both what we need." For a long moment, Thornton was silent, considering their offer. Finally, he nodded slowly. "I'll have my lawyer draw up the papers. But understand this, if you're trying to trick me, we're not," Molly interrupted. "We simply want to live our lives without looking over our shoulders." As they left the saloon, Tyler squeezed Molly's hand. "Do you think he'll honor the agreement?" "I think he's a businessman at heart," Molly replied. "And this is a good business decision for all of us." 2 weeks later, the papers were signed. Thornton gained legal access to the water he needed, while Molly and Tyler retained ownership of their land and the peace they craved. With the threat of Thornton behind them, they turned their attention to their future. A June wedding was planned, with the entire town invited to celebrate. Even those who had initially disapproved of their swift courtship had come to respect the obvious love between them and the positive changes they had brought to the community. The wedding day dawned clear and bright, the ranch decorated with wildflowers gathered by Emma and her friends. Molly wore a simple white dress that Mrs. Peterson had helped her sew, with blue ribbons in her hair that matched her eyes. Tyler waited for her beneath an arch of twisted branches and flowers, Jack standing proudly at his side as best man, little Thomas balanced on his hip. When Molly appeared, walking toward him with Emma scattering flower petals before her, Tyler felt his heart might burst with happiness. "Dearly beloved," the minister began, "we are gathered here today to join this man and this woman in holy matrimony." As they spoke their vows, promising to love and cherish each other through all of life's challenges, Molly thought of the journey that had brought them to this moment. From the depths of despair after Thomas's death to the heights of joy with Tyler, it had been a path neither could have predicted. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," the minister declared. "You may kiss your bride." Tyler's kiss was tender and promising, sealing their union before their friends and family. The children cheered, Jack's whooped the loudest of all. The celebration continued well into the evening, with music, dancing, and more food than Molly had ever seen in one place. Even Thornton made a brief appearance, presenting them with a fine breeding bull as a wedding gift, a peace offering and business investment combined. Later, as the party wound down and the children were tucked into bed at the Petersons for the night, Tyler carried Molly across the threshold of their home. "Mrs. Xavier," he said, setting her gently on her feet. "How does it sound?" "Perfect," Molly replied, reaching up to kiss him. "Like it was always meant to be." That night, as they lay entwined in each other's arms, Molly whispered, "Thank you." "For what?" Tyler asked, stroking her hair. "For paying my debts and asking nothing in return," she said softly. "For loving my children as your own. For believing in me when I'd stopped believing in myself." Tyler kissed her gently. "You gave me something far more valuable, Molly Xavier. You gave me a home, a family, a purpose. That's a debt I can never fully repay." "Love isn't about debts," Molly said, resting her head on his chest. "It's about giving freely, without expectation." "Then I plan to give you a lifetime of love," Tyler promised. "Starting right now." As the years passed, the Xavier Ranch prospered. Tyler and Molly welcomed 2 more children to their family, a son named William and a daughter named Sarah. Emma, Jack, and Thomas thrived under their parents' loving guidance, growing into capable, confident young adults. The partnership with the Petersons continued until their peaceful passing within months of each other, leaving their homestead to the Xaviers as they had no children of their own. Tyler and Molly established a scholarship in their name at Sweetwater School, ensuring their legacy would continue. Thornton, true to his word, never again threatened their peace. In time, a cautious respect developed between the neighboring ranchers, occasionally even bordering on friendship. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Tyler surprised Molly with a trip to San Francisco, a city she had always dreamed of visiting, but never expected to see. They spent 2 glorious weeks exploring the bustling metropolis, attending the theater and walking along the bay, marveling at how far they had come from that fateful day when Tyler had returned to Sweetwater. "You ever regret it?" Molly asked one evening as they watched the sunset from their hotel balcony. "Settling down, taking on a ready-made family, giving up your freedom to roam." Tyler turned to her, his love evident in his eyes despite the passing years. "Not for a single moment," he assured her. "I spent years wandering, Molly, but I never found what I was looking for until I came back to Sweetwater, until I found you." "And what were you looking for?" Molly asked curiously. "Home," Tyler said simply. "Not a place, but a feeling. The feeling I have when I'm with you and our children. The feeling that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be." Molly leaned into his embrace, content in the knowledge that what had begun as an act of generosity had blossomed into a love story neither could have imagined. A cowboy had paid her debts and asked nothing in return. But in doing so, he had gained everything: a family, a home, and a love that would last a lifetime. As they returned to Sweetwater and the ranch that had become the center of their world, Molly knew with absolute certainty that some debts could never be repaid, and some gifts were beyond price. The gift Tyler had given her wasn't just financial freedom. It was the chance to love again, to build a new life from the ashes of despair. And in return, she had given him the one thing his wandering soul had always sought: a place to belong, a heart to call home.